In this video, I'm talking about Melbourne's birth chart and how I use local space to discern a time of birth. So local space is a way of measuring the position of the planets. Normally in astrology, you measure the planets in the zodiac, in degrees of longitude through all the signs of the zodiac. In local space, you measure the position of the planets as compass directions: north, south, east, west, and all the positions in between. And my idea is that if I can identify a day of birth for Melbourne, I can use local space to determine the time of day. So that is supposing that at the birth time, the planets will line up by direction. Azimuth, it's called. Azimuth, that's the measurement of the angle around the horizon. So I can use that the azimuth of the planets will line up with significant landmarks in Melbourne's landscape. So first of all, I used man-made things such as the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG, which is the hub of Australian rules football, and Tullamarine Airport, and the exhibition buildings and Lygon Street restaurants, and bridges like the Westgate Bridge and other bridges, and reservoirs like Yan Yin Reservoir and Sugarloaf Reservoir. So buildings and man-made landmarks. And when I tried to determine a time, it was sloppy. For example, the MCG actually occupies many degrees of azimuth. It's close to the city. It's a big arena. It actually, and you might think, oh, we'll use the middle, and that's fine. But when I use the middle of the MCG to line up with planets, then Tullamarine Airport wasn't in the middle. It's like there was this range of time between 10 a.m. on the day of Melbourne's birth and 11 a.m. The planets line up with these landmarks. And that day is the 30th of August, 1835. And my Melbourne Horoscope project stalled for 30 years, in fact, at that point, with about an hour possible birth time range. But I came back to it a few years back, actually during COVID lockdown. I came back to this project of mine with a new line of inquiry. And this new line of inquiry involved, instead of man-made objects, it was topography, the mountains, and throughways, and through the mountains also in Melbourne's skyline. The best way to view the skyline is before dawn and after sunset, and you get the outline, the silhouette of all the mountains on Melbourne's skyline. So, and I didn't actually expect this to work. I thought, well, since Melbourne is a man-made city, then the planets will line up with man-made objects only. But when I used the skyline, then I was able to define the time of birth for Melbourne within 1 minute of clock time. 10:34 a.m. That's local mean time. 10:34 a.m. on the 30th of August, 1835. Because at this time, if I stand at the place where the first settlers camped on this day, and if I look out over the highest mountain on Melbourne's skyline, which is Mount Donna Buang, then Saturn lines up precisely at 10:34 with the summit of Mount Donna Buang. And at that same time, Jupiter lines up with the summit of Mount Macedon. And Pluto lines up with the summit, highest peak, Station Peak in the Uranus. And the Sun, directly opposite the Sun, lines up with the entrance to Port Phillip Bay. And Uranus lines up with Mud Island, which is right near the entrance, a few degrees separate from right near the entrance, Mud Island, right near the entrance to Port Phillip Bay. And Mars lines up with the Black Spur. So this isn't so much a summit on the skyline, it's actually a path through the Yarra Ranges. And Mars also does this role in Sydney's birth chart, and I'll talk about that another time. Mercury and Venus do not line up with any conspicuous topography. But having said that, I will investigate further. The moon lines up with Belgrave and Puffin Billy. Now, Puffin Billy, of course, is man-made, but it represents another path, this time through or across the Dandenong Ranges. So that's how I arrived at a time of birth for Melbourne.